Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and in this tutorial what I want to do is I want to show you guys how to access the camera, and we're just going to be building a simple app for this demonstration, and it's going to have a button right down here, and whenever you click it it's going to launch your camera, and then whenever you take a picture of something it's going to display right there. So pretty sweet. And before we begin, I want to mention that I did start a brand new project. And also make sure that you're using API 18 or higher, because there's one little package that we're going to use to make sure that your device has a camera, and it will still work if you're using like one of the older APIs, but it'll give you this weird warning message. So in order just to avoid it, let's go ahead and switch to API 18 or anything higher. You can even use Lollipop and it'll be fine. So in your main, or excuse me, your activity main, not main activity, it's kind of confusing. Main activity, activity main, tomato, tomato, whatever, whatever. Alright, so let's go ahead and get rid of this text view first. Now, the first thing that we need is that button. So go ahead and grab this button and drag it somewhere, not in the middle, somewhere on the bottom, like that. Now let me give myself a little more room to work. So the first thing we need to do is we need to give this an ID, and how about Bucky's button? And why is my computer making weird noises? Huh, sounds like my cooling thing. Hopefully I can if you guys can hear that, I apologize, it's really annoying. Alright, so anyways, getting kind of sidetracked here, and we'll just change the text on this to take photo, so the user actually knows what's going to happen whenever they click it. Now of course, just so this can actually do something, we'll add a method on click and we'll say launch camera. So that's essentially what this is going to do. Whenever you click it, it's going to launch the camera app and allow the user to take a picture. Now after they take the picture, we want to display it right up top here. So what we need in order to display it is an image view. So if you go down under widgets and add image view, you can drag it anywhere. Right around here is good for now. One second, my computer is being really loud. Alright, so apparently it's my cooling system's making stupid noises. It does that like once a week. It just starts making really dumb noises. So yeah, hopefully I can edit out that sound, but I have to deal with it right now. Alright, so you see how this image view is 0, 0? It pretty much has no size right now. That's because there isn't an image in it, and our layout is set to wrap content. So it's pretty much going to wrap around. Whenever we stick an image in there, it's pretty much going to fit whatever the content is, aka the image. But for right now, just so we have something to, I don't know, look at, let's go down and add minimum height, and we'll say like 300 dp, and we'll give it a minimum width of 300 dp too. Alright, so now what I want to do is move that up a little bit. So if I go way up, I can go layout margin and change the margin top to like 50 dp. See if that works. Alright, looks good enough. So the other thing that we need to do, the one last thing, is this. We need to give this an ID. So if you go to ID, image view will work, but I'd rather name it Bucky's image view. Alright, so now we got an area that can display image. Now we have a button that whenever we click it, it calls launch camera. So before we hop over and start coding this, let's go ahead and in the manifest we need to set up one permission, and that's of course the permission to add the camera. So if you go uses feature Android name, and the name of this is Android hardware.camera. Not camera 2, just camera. And another thing is Android required, set this equal to true. So now we pretty much are saying, okay, we want to use the camera on the user's device whenever they install this app. So that's all we have to do in the manifest. So close out of this and hop into your main activity.java, and we can start coding this thing. And I am back. I just had to put my computer to sleep and then wake it up real quick, because for some stupid reason, whenever it starts making noise, if you put it to sleep and then wake it up, it stops. So I probably need a new computer, but whatever. Alright, so all of my imports that I'm going to use are right here. So pause the video, take a second to copy those, and after you do that, we can actually get rid of these, the last two menu methods. Won't be needing those. Now the first thing I want to do is just set up some variables, and the first one is static final int request. I spell everything correctly, hopefully, and set this to 1. So what this constant is it's basically a way to identify your intent, and if you have a bunch of different intents, then you can set an identifier along with each one. But the only intent that we have is we intend to open up the camera and eventually take a picture. So again, this isn't really important. You can just pass in 1 if you want, but it's proper just to set it to a constant. So the next thing is I need a reference to image view right here, since we're going to be using it in a few methods. And I'll just name it Bucky's image view because that was the name in activity main. So now on create, as soon as we create this, what do we want to do? Well, the first thing we need is a reference to that button. Now we're only going to be using it in this method, so I'm just going to create the entire thing right here. Now of course you already know how to do all this. Find view by ID, r.id.bucky's button. And we also need to do the same thing for that image view. So set this equal to image view, which is of course that area where we could display the image. Find view by ID, r.id.bucky's image view. Alright, so that was the easy stuff. Now the first thing we need to do is, before we can take a picture, we want to check if the user actually has a camera. Because if we're trying to call a bunch of intents dealing with the camera in their device, maybe it's a really old one, or just maybe not a high-end one and they don't have a camera, it's going to cause some problems. So I'm going to say disable the button if the user has no camera or something. Not the sewer, user. So again, we're going to check for a camera, and if they don't have one, then we're just going to disable this button so they can't click it and launch the camera, obviously.